What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. We got a cracker today, and this one comes off the back of a question from Aiden Wilson on the YouTube channel. He loved our chat this week about performance and how to get strong and flexible, and he's asked us to do one on nutrition. So here we are. Wants to know how we eat. Richie and I will enjoy this because we're very proud to say that we both have ripped abs 365 days a year. There's never a day that we wake up and look in the mirror and don't have ripped abs. And so what we do works, but we both do things very differently. So it's going to be an interesting deep dive into how two strength and performance coaches, personal trainers, whatever you want to call us, eat. We've both done little bits of study in nutrition. We're not certified nutritionists or dietitians, but we have done courses, workshops, whatever you want to call it, deep dives, and a lot of our own research. And we both have a lot of skin in the game. I've been a personal trainer since 2004, December 5th, 2004, and I think that's about 18 years. And Richard has been a personal trainer for how long now? About 10 years?
Yeah.
About 10 years. And prior to that, he was 4 years in the Australian military as an infantry soldier,
One
training
is
extremely hard. 5 years, excuse me. Did 3 deployments overseas. Is that correct?
just two.
Two. Okay.
Maybe I should list off the stats.
My numbers are wrong. Okay, I'm going to fire my personal assistant. So before we get started on this, it's going to be a great discussion. Allow me to introduce us formally. My name's Yanni Baumeister. I've got Richard Lellies, aka Richie the Rig, next to me. We call him the Rig because if you saw him with his shirt off, he's 6'3" and he's a monster. We are Unity Gym and the Unified Movement System. Our specialty is turning driven people just like yourself into strong, flexible, fit athletes. And we like to take a deep dive into nutrition every so often. Friday in our UMS coaching group is Nutrition Friday. So straight after we do these live podcast recordings on YouTube and in our Movement Mastermind Facebook group, we go live into our private coaching group where our members get a 2-hour deep dive into all things nutrition. And we always start on the fundamentals, which is the one thing that Richard and I definitely share in common. And we're going to deep dive into that in a sec. Now, first, before we do, I would love, if you are watching on YouTube, I am just going to link the show link in over here. I'd love you to smash the like button if you don't mind. And if you do like what you see, then subscribe to the channel. We'll come at you with some great content every single day. And we've got a couple of Ripper videos going well. We got one on how to develop the triceps and how to strengthen the shoulders. They're both doing very, very well. So the two things that we have in common, and this is the starting point for every single member here at Unity Gym, is to optimize dietary protein intake and calorie balance. And these things, no matter what diet you do, there's a saying around here at Unity Gym. It's definitely not something that I made up. I'm only sharing what I've learned. Is that all diets are the same? And the reason why is because the mechanism that actually leans you up or helps you lose fat or has you gaining muscle remain the same for every single diet. It doesn't matter whether you do a time restricted eating or intermittent fasting regime like I do. It doesn't matter whether you do a calorie controlled diet. It doesn't matter whether you do a hero diet, a high fat Atkins, a high protein diet, a keto diet. It doesn't matter whether you do high carbs, low fat, always the same. If you lose weight or gain weight, it's due to the fact that you've manipulated your calorie intake and caloric balance. So if you eliminate one whole macronutrient, as in the extreme methods of sort of keto or high carb, low fat, and you remove the fat portion, then you're removing a large portion of calories from the meals each day. And it doesn't really matter how you do that, but the law of thermodynamics stays true in every single circumstance. If you want to lose weight, you are going to have to create some form of a caloric deficit for sustained periods of time. And if you want to gain muscle, you're going to have to optimize and take in enough dietary protein. And in most cases, be in a neutral or caloric surplus, meaning that you've got an abundance of energy for the body to go through all of the processes and pathways of muscle protein synthesis, muscle cell myogenesis, all these different things that need to occur for you to gain muscle mass. Okay. And so what we say here at Unity Gym is it doesn't really matter how, there's many ways to skin a cat, but if you don't get those two things right, which we call the fundamentals to nutrition at Unity Gym, that's dietary protein optimization, so that you're intaking enough dietary protein for your body size and weight to maintain healthy muscles and metabolism, and you don't figure out how many calories you need based on your size, weight, and how much exercise you're doing and where you want to go, whether you want to lose weight, gain weight, or stay the same, then you'll really, really struggle. Richie, you had a really, really great saying. Richie did a bit of work with under Lane Norton recently, who's got a
Oh yeah, yeah.
PhD in muscle protein synthesis, and is, I reckon, one of the godfathers of getting people in shape for whether it's comp prep or whatever else. He's got him and Holly Baxter, his wife, who is an Australian dietitian. She is amazing as well, and she's a figure model. If you want to see an amazing female physique, have a look at Holly Baxter on Instagram. They're both beasts, and they've got a lot of skin in the game, like arguably, and they've teamed up with one other dietitian, I believe. I'm not sure his name, to create the Carbon app, which is a brilliant app. Anyway, you came out of that workshop and had a really great saying in regards to, it being similar to trying to get somewhere without a map. Why don't you share that? I love this.
Yeah, so calories, like measuring like what you're eating is really important, when it comes to making corrections of like where you're going with your weight loss journey. And it's similar like to what you would consider like looking at a map would be like. If you're plotting the points on a map, you could accurately make corrections on where you need, what you need to do to where you need to go. But if you don't have calories, or if you're not tracking your calories and macronutrients, then it's similar to not having a good estimate to where you are on the map to begin with, and no measuring tools of how to correct that course either. So it's very much like that. Like, yeah, you could probably end up in the same destination, but it's going to be a lot more challenging, a lot more tricky to actually get there and make corrections, So, and for some people, they can end up completely lost. Like, they don't know what to do, where to go. It's very similar like that. So if you think making all these like minor like corrections in your diet and measuring is hard, then you can imagine what it could be like if you didn't have any measurement tools at all and just did it like clean eating,
Yeah, and so this is what I really love about that analogy of the roadmap, of the Google Maps as a calorie counting method. I just took my kids to school and preschool, did the daily drop off before I got on here live and before I had my first meeting this morning. And if I was doing that for the very first time, I would use a map. I would need a map because I wouldn't know where their school is. I wouldn't know where I'm going. And I'd probably use that map the first couple of times I did it, But now I don't need to follow a map when I take them to school and preschool. I know my way around. And it's no different to navigating calories and protein. There was a period of time where I really needed to understand how to do this. And I needed to track everything and monitor everything. And I have a little fancy spreadsheet that I built for myself to be able to do that. And now I don't need to. I don't do it anymore because I know exactly what my body needs. And every once in a while, there's a little bit of calibration that needs to be done. Usually after I've been on vacation and I've consumed too much beer. I'm a bit of a stickler for really nice IPA beers, which are very heavy in calories. And so I might go away for a couple of weeks or tour overseas, and I'll drink a bit of beer, and I'll come back, and I've put on a couple of kilos of unwanted fat around the midsection. And so I'll tweak things and manipulate things a little bit, and I know how to do that. But that's not something that just came naturally. It's something that I've learned how to do over time, over 18 years of experience. And I love that. If you're going somewhere that you've never been before, or you don't know the way to, then you need help. You need to use a map, and you wouldn't just say, if you're exploring a new city, traveling around the world, and you get there and you go, okay, I want to go and look at this museum. I've got no idea how to get there, so I'm just going to have a crack at it. You'd be in all sorts. You'd waste all your time walking around the streets and not knowing where you are, which is no different to someone who's never been lean before, trying to get there without using the tools that we have available to ourselves. So that's the first thing that we need to get over, and this is something that everybody needs to just suck up. Like, I know that you're kind of like, oh no, I don't want to track, I don't want to count calories. You don't have to do it forever. It's not like you're making a commitment that you have to do for the rest of your life. You're not joining the monastery. You know,
Yep.
you're not becoming a monk. It is something that you do for a short amount of time to learn how to get to the destination you want to get to, and then maintenance is very easy. And I always argue with members who are stifled by that concept. Why are you so willing to put yourself through so much pain and discomfort in your workouts and get like ruthlessly diligent at tracking your sets, reps, and the weights you lift in the gym, and how many steps you took, and how far you ran, and the pace of your running or pace of your jogging or whatever, all these things that we do with our exercise. And then we just throw our hands in the air and say, I'm not willing to do any of that for my diet. When diet is, if you're trying to change body composition, diet is at least half the battle, if not 80% of the battle, some people will say, and so the first thing that Richard and I do that's in common is that we understand dietary protein intake, and we make sure that we build every meal around our dietary protein requirements, and we understand calories. And if we're gaining a little bit of weight, we understand how to manipulate our food sources, our meals, to reduce the total calorie intake and maintain the protein intake so that we lose that little bit of fat that we've gained. And it happens subconsciously for me now, literally subconsciously for me now. I will manipulate my meals a little bit so that I reduce the things on there that I know that I don't need so much, that are probably like, I have a set amount of go-to meals that we'll get into in a sec, and we'll dive into Richard's as well, because I'm sure he's probably got the same. He's got a lovely partner, wife, whatever you want to call her. They're practically married, who does most of his cooking. So he's
Yep.
lucky. I don't. I have to do all my own. But it is, we tend to have go-to meals that we know are going to furnish our needs. We stick to those most of the time, and then we have periods of time where we have diet holidays or diet breaks or cheat days or whatever you want to call it, and so we'll dive into that in a sec. But this is a go, no go point. And this is what we reinforce to our guys in our UMS Movement Mastermind. And we have all these different tools and data and theory guides and all this sort of stuff, and weekly coaching calls to help guide them through this. But you have to figure out what your caloric needs are, and you have to figure out what your dietary protein needs are. And then you've got to figure out what food sources are going to deliver those in the best way possible, with the least amount of gray area or disruption, and then focus on getting those right first. And if you don't focus on getting those right, and I guarantee you that just about every personal trainer, strength coach, or person who has ripped abs 365 days a year, they're getting those two things right. Okay. You may sit back there and go, oh, it's genetics. It's genetics that get them there. You are wrong, my friend. You are wrong. Genetics is not why they get there. It's actually got a lot more to do with their upbringing and what they've been fed during their childhood and how they were brought up than their genetics. Okay. Our genetics, to have a genetic disposition that makes you gain a lot of weight, fat, or makes it harder for you to stay lean, those variables are very rare. Very, very rare. It's more to do with circumstance and environment that that tends to make you overweight. Believe me.
Yep.
And so, otherwise, why would my mum and Richard's parents and my dad be morbidly obese? We have overweight and obese parents and siblings. So if it's genetics, we should be obese too, right? That's how it works. That's how genetics works. So, both my parents have struggled with their weight all their life. One of my sisters has yo-yoed with her weight all her life, and Richard's in the same boat. So, and my cousins are all obese. Okay, so come on, guys, let's just shelve that genetic argument. Okay, now that we've got that aside, that's the hard part. That's the part that everyone needs to sort of just understand. Uh, what are your go-to meals, Richie? What do you like to eat?
So
First of all,
I
how do you eat? How do you eat? Let's talk about like a day. Start from the very first thing you put in your mouth in the morning, because I'm
okay, so
totally different to Richard.
I do prefer to eat breakfast. I think I'm one of those people that naturally find putting on muscle a little bit difficult. I'm a tall guy. I got a higher metabolic rate, so generally I need to eat more calories in order to sustain my weight and to even put muscle on. So fasting for me has never been really a thing. Not to say I haven't tried it before and I haven't done it. It's many days in the army that I fasted. But yeah, so
Not by choice.
for me, a choice of having 3 meals is that's optimal for me. I have 3 main meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then I substitute little meals or protein meals in between to hit my protein frequency of about 4 to 5 times a day. And in the morning, I've experimented with different things, but lately what I'm eating is I go and have yogurt with berries and bananas, and sometimes a little bits of other fruit in there. So I'm getting a high amount of protein in there from the yogurt. Australia here has this great yogurt company called Chobani, and they have a specific yogurt that's really high in protein. And I basically smash half a tub of yogurt with the berries and banana in one sitting, and that gives me around I think 30 plus grams of protein just in that one sitting. So I don't even need to have any protein supplement on top of that, and that does me well for my first meal. And I've been doing that for a little while now. And then number one, I think, like, when it comes to like we haven't said this yet on this show, but consistency is really important when it comes to changing your body weight and maintaining. Like, I think one of the reasons why Yanni and I can maintain our physique the way it is all year round is because we are consistent. There's no massive fluctuation with how we eat, because we've become so routined about it. And routine isn't boring. Like, for me, I still enjoy having my breakfast the way that I do. I still enjoy having the meals that I cook, and I don't have the same thing every week for every single meal. Like, there is a lot of like consistency with that, but also there is variance enough for me to go, this is still keeping me, satisfied. So when it comes to breakfast, that's what I have for breakfast. And I said before that in between my meals, I have protein powder, so whey protein isolate. And then for my other meals, that will change a little bit from day to day. But basically, I have meat in my meals, and that meat portion will tend to change from day to day. Again, variety is important, but I tend to have the same sorts of meats every week. So I'll have a couple days where I'm having chicken, and different types of chicken. Like, I'll have chicken thighs maybe one week, chicken breasts the other week, so there is a bit of variance in that, but not too much. And the quantity roughly stays the same. I aim to have more than 100 grams, between 100 to 200 grams of chicken per session. And that'll give me well over 30 to 50 grams of protein in that meal. And then for the other days, it becomes about mixing up the protein sources. I have beef, I have pork other days, I have fish, and when I do have fish, I generally have salmon, but, sometimes I mix it up and, have other types of fish as well. So, there's enough variance in the meats that I eat to keep me satisfied. And then, of course, it becomes about how you cook that meat as well. Sometimes, recently I bought an air fryer, and I've been air frying my food, and that's been amazing. Like, if you guys haven't tried an air fryer before.
Someone else told me that recently. Are they really good, are they?
Yeah, oh yeah. Like, I put salmon in for 13 minutes the other day, and it came out perfect. Perfect,
Really?
like crispy and like succulent. Yum.
Wow.
So
I'm gonna I'm gonna get one. I've been told that. I had a woman the other day tell me it'll revolutionize your life. Get an air fryer. They're
I mean,
phenomenal.
it cooks things perfectly.
Yeah.
Just got to watch the settings. Like, of course, you can burn things if you put it on the wrong setting, but it's really good. But you know what I mean? Like, so, like, I stick to that sort of rule when it comes to meats. Like, I'll have like pork, fish, chicken, beef, and I'll cycle them through. Um, and when it comes to the other sort of other food groups, when it comes to like carbs, vegetables, like I think a very good rule to follow when it comes to your vegetables in the week is you eat a wide variety of colors, different types of vegetables. So you know you're going through like you eat reds, you eat purples, you eat obviously greens, yellows. If you get a wide variety of colors in your vegetables, then you're going to be exposed to a wide amount of nutrients. And again, we know how important vegetables are for our diet. They're filled with vitamins, minerals, and everything that you get that you need. Sorry, and then like my carbohydrates that I use for like energy, like that the things I want to consider for fueling my workouts, I keep it simple. I eat potato, but I don't narrow myself to only one type of carbs. You get a lot of people out there that say, oh, rice is bad for you, shouldn't be eating rice. But, honestly, I don't think that's true at all. I think it's, whatever's bad is generally how much quantity you're having of that one specific thing, and, you have to be really considerate of energy balance. Of course, you're going to put on weight if you're eating too much rice, if it goes over that caloric intake budget that you have every day. So yeah, keeping it simple. Like I will have rice every now and then, but I'll have potatoes, sweet potatoes, things like that. I'm not scared of having a good carb meal. I'll have pasta nights with Cass as well because it's fine if you're having it occasionally. And if you're very again considerate of still getting your protein intake. So contrary to popular belief, like to keep six-pack abs all year round, you don't need to eat super strictly. You don't need to be eliminating junk foods and things like that completely out of your diet. You're still allowed to have that stuff, but again, it's the quantity. You have to budget for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You have to
And
budget for it.
and again, consistently, I eat the same every week so that my body kind of hits a baseline. It knows how to stick to that. I'm not spiking it by going out to the pub every weekend and just smashing an absolute massive pub meal with like 6 beers, and then during the week I'm also consuming a surplus amount of calories. So I stay relatively consistent.
So Richard's probably I'd say more disciplined, but there's a couple of other variables that we should mention. I'm 42, Richard's 32. Is that right? How old are
33.
you?
Yep. Yep. 33.
33, yeah. And it does make a difference. Age is a factor because what happens with age is two things. One, our metabolism tends to slow down because we are, believe it or not, losing muscle mass as we age, which is the regulator of our metabolism and metabolic function. And two, our digestive system and digestive health tends to decline with age, which means that we don't metabolize protein as effectively and we don't metabolize food calories. Believe it or not, how one person's body and gut microbiome metabolizes food calories is different to another person's. So you might absorb more food calories out of certain foods than some other person who's been eating that food all of their life. So, but we won't go into that. I want to keep things pretty simple for the purpose of this discussion. But I follow a time restricted eating regime. So I won't actually break my food fast until 12:30 today, which is arguably lunchtime for everyone else. That's when I have my first breakfast meal, which is a smoothie, which is a smoothie with a protein. I use a vegan protein purely because some weird reason my body I get pimples very easily, and when I have whey protein too much, I do have a bit of it. I've got a bag of it there, and I do mix things up a bit. But if I have too much whey, then I get pimples, and it's just annoying. I'm too vain for that. And so I have a vegan protein, but I add leucine to it, and I put a banana in it, and I put some fiber in it. I usually have some oats just rolled oats, and a couple of other things, and some ice, and then mix it up with water, and it's a delicious smoothie in the morning that is about 350 calories and 50 grams of protein. And I aim to get 4 doses of 50 grams of protein, give or take. Some of them are a little bit over that, and my last meal of the day is usually 6 eggs, 6 boiled eggs, just with some cracked salt on top of it and some hot sauce. Delicious. I usually eat that when I'm watching Netflix or something at night, and that's my last meal at about 8 o'clock at night. And that is a really nice slow release protein and fat, which helps me sleep. The fat in the egg helps me sleep really well, helps me go into potentially a little bit of ketosis at night. The proteins in there are really nice slow release protein throughout the night to help rebuild and restore my muscles and everything. And then it's nil by mouth until I have my coffee in the morning, my first coffee, just a black coffee, and then that gets me through. That'll get me through 2 training sessions. So I do cardio first thing in the morning for an hour, 45 minutes. And then I go to the gym and usually do a workout, which I've actually been doing lately after my smoothie, because it's just easier to pick up the boys from school straight after the gym. But when I don't have the boys, I train usually at 11 o'clock until about 12:30. Then I come home, break fast, and have that smoothie. So, I get 2 pretty intense training sessions in on an empty stomach, that I've been fasting since about 8:15 the night before. And yeah, that works really well for me and my age and just my lifestyle. I find that I'm more coherent in the morning when I haven't eaten. I am better at these coaching sessions and our shows. And I select my protein sources and carb sources really carefully. I'm pretty consistent. I have 4 carb sources. I have potato. I have Lebanese bread. I just love Lebanese bread. Vinny Brown's asked, "How do you feel about breads?" I keep it
Fine.
pretty minimal, but I'm totally fine with good quality bread, mate. It's not the bread that's the problem. It's how we're producing the grain that's the problem. And I don't know the answer to that. So don't smash me with a million questions about that. You need to talk to someone who's a specialist or a dietitian. But you can travel certain areas of the world and the bread doesn't upset people's stomach or create inflammation. So it's not. I don't think it's the bread. It's how we're westernizing the grain that's more of a problem. So I eat like a traditional what's it called, sourdough or a Lebanese bread, and I love that. And I always put a stack of meat in it, whether it's cured meats or just like some chicken breast and stuff like that, and some whole egg mayo. It's delicious. That'll be a snack for me. But yeah, the most important thing is that every single meal is based around protein. I love to keep my meals simple. When I don't have the kids and I can cook what I want, I will get a really lean beef steak, get it ground up into a mince, and I'll sort of stir fry that with some veggies, with some broccoli, carrots, peas, green peas, and maybe some capsicum, and put some really nice dukkha in it, like herbs and spices. And then I'll just do some white rice for my carbs and have that together, and it's delicious. And I can control the protein portions, I can control the calories really nicely, and my secret is to pre-prepare. So I'll do a batch of cooking that'll last me 2 lunches, 2 dinners, and that way I'm always organized. I'm always organized in advance because I've got a very busy lifestyle. A single parent with 2 young boys, and running a business with these guys. So
I think
it's
that's a really important one to touch on, Yanni. It's that preparation, and
yep,
that's part of being consistent. Like I also prepare my next meal in advance. So when I cook dinner, there's enough for me the next day. And that means, again, you're consistent. You're not needing to go out and find another form of food elsewhere, like outside of the house, like going
yep,
down to the cafe or the restaurant to eat whatever, because you can't control how much they put on your plate, right? So if you can control um, your food most often during the week, then you're in control of those calories, and ultimately that's going to keep you consistent.
yeah. And now, differently to Richard, I do budget a little bit of beer calories in on the weekend. I will probably consume 1,000 beer calories on the weekend, and that is, probably like 8 beers or something, or 6 beers over the weekend. And the way I do that is that when I have my meals throughout the week, I have some meals that are just pure protein and zero carbs and very low fat. And so I understand that if I'm going to get 1,000 dead calories that do nothing for my body at all, except give me a little bit of a dopamine hit, then I budget that into my week, and I have a couple of snacks or meals that are just pure protein, so that I'm creating a little bit of a deficit, because your body can do that. Your body can work in cycles, and it's actually good for metabolic flexibility to cycle on and off strict periods of eating. Eating regimes. I also have a tendency to I have a tendency to allow myself to have really big blowout cheat meals where I'll go to ribs and burgers and eat, you know, a kilogram of pork ribs and a hamburger and some fries or something like that in a meal. And like
Yeah.
I budget all of that in,
Yeah.
and I also make sure that if I go over, if I do something silly, then I go, all right, I got to go for an extra 5Ks today on my walk or run and burn an extra 700 calories. That's
Yeah.
just the fact of it. I just take that into consideration and go, all right. And that's because I understand food calories. I understand calories in the production of energy and the consumption of energy. I understand how much I need and all of that. And so that really is the starting point. That's what you guys need to adopt. It doesn't really matter how you diet. It doesn't matter whether you do time restricted eating or intermittent fasting like I do. It doesn't matter whether you do a calorie control or a keto diet or a paleo or a carnivore or a vegan diet. It doesn't. I mean, I would argue that the extremes are, you got to be careful. You really got to know what you're doing if you're going to adopt an extreme diet like carnivore or vegan, because you need to know how to get all your vitamins, minerals, proteins, things like that like really, really well. And yeah, I would just say try to do something that comes naturally to you, but make sure that you get the first two fundamentals right: dietary protein and calories. We got to go, guys.
Yeah.
We have to jump into our daily coaching call in our UMS coaching group and give them their weekly dose of nutrition. So, with that, it's Friday for us here in Sydney, Australia. So, we will catch you guys on the flip side on Monday for us, Sunday for you legends in the US of A. And yeah, have a great weekend. Enjoy. Eat
You
well.
guys.
Eat well.